Garrett Mitchell, the man the internet knows as Cleetus McFarland, has built an empire on 4 wheels. With over 4.5 million YouTube subscribers, his entire brand centers on building cars, racing them, and filming every single moment of the journey. But what separates him from the average content creator is the Freedom Factory, his personal racetrack in Ocala, Florida, which makes it impossible to write him off as just another internet personality looking for attention. This is a man who genuinely lives and breathes motorsports every single day, and his path to NASCAR has been one of the most debated stories in the sport over the past year. Mitchell did not simply walk up to NASCAR's front door and demand a seat. His racing career started in drag racing, where he was met with laughter and skepticism from the very beginning. He pushed through it, proved his doubters wrong, and then made the transition into ARCA racing in 2025 with Richard Childress Racing. In 5 starts, he recorded 2 top 10 finishes, 10th at Talladega and 9th at Charlotte. For someone whose career began on YouTube rather than in junior racing programs, those numbers represent a genuinely respectable entry into competitive motorsport. His progression was also shaped significantly by his friendship with Greg Biffle, a legitimate NASCAR legend who became his mentor and helped guide him toward a potential Daytona 500 start. Tragically, Biffle, along with his family, died in a plane crash in December 2025. Mitchell publicly stated that their time together ranked among the greatest moments of his life, a detail that adds real emotional weight to everything he has been chasing since. The February 2026 timeline is where the story gets complicated. Before the Daytona truck race, Mitchell crashed during his Rockingham approval test. NASCAR approved him to race anyway, and that decision immediately triggered controversy across the sport. When the truck race itself arrived, things did not improve. Just 5 or 6 laps into the event, Mitchell lost control of his truck with no contact from any other competitor, purely on his own, and hit the inside wall. His day ended there with a 37th place finish. He did manage an 11th place result in the ARCA race held the same weekend, but the truck race was the headline, and it was not a favorable one. Denny Hamlin, speaking on his podcast, said that he knew before the race even started that it was not going to end well, and that Mitchell never once looked in control during the event. Freddie Kraft, who serves as Bubba Wallace's spotter, went directly to social media and called out NASCAR's approval process, making the straightforward argument that crashing at the test and then crashing in the race while still receiving approval pointed to a serious structural problem in how the sanctioning body evaluates drivers. The backlash was loud, pointed, and it came from people inside the sport itself. Then came the announcement that nobody saw coming. Cleetus McFarland signed a deal with Richard Childress Racing, and the scale of that organization cannot be understated. RCR is one of the most historically significant teams in all of NASCAR. Dale Earnhardt drove for them. This is not a startup team or a backmarker operation. The deal put Mitchell in the number 33 Tommy's Express Chevrolet for 3 races in the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, with his first start scheduled for April 4 at Rockingham Speedway in the North Carolina Education Lottery 250, airing at 2:30 p.m. on the CW. His teammates at RCR include Jesse Love, the defending series champion, and Austin Hill. Mitchell described the opportunity as a dream come true. The NASCAR world responded with a mixture of shock, criticism, and everything in between. Mark Martin stated plainly that qualifying laps do not prove race readiness, and that every single driver at Rockingham carries more experience than Mitchell does, putting him at a serious competitive disadvantage. Martin said the whole situation scares him to death. Kyle Busch, who is connected to RCR through his own team arrangement, pointed out that his son Brexton has competed in more races than Cleetus has, a notably pointed comment directed at someone technically on the same organizational side. Brad Keselowski said he would tear apart the current approval process and rebuild it from scratch, but also acknowledged directly that he does not blame Mitchell for wanting the opportunity. His reasoning was simple: the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series airs nationally on the CW with massive ratings, and any driver with ambition would want access to that platform. Kenny Wallace zeroed in on the specific dangers of Rockingham's dogleg section, pointing out that the throttle demands at that particular track make it one of the most technically demanding venues on the calendar. Wallace stated directly that Mitchell could hurt somebody and that his fame is the primary reason the story has received the attention it has. Ken Schrader said flat out that Mitchell has no business being approved for this level of racing, and then immediately admitted that he enjoys watching his YouTube content and understands why NASCAR wants him involved, since more eyes on the sport translates to more ticket sales and broader exposure. Kyle Petty delivered the most direct assessment of anyone involved, stating that if all you are is an internet sensation, you have no place on a racetrack with drivers at that level of competition. With that chorus of criticism surrounding him, Mitchell chose to respond not with words on social media but with a stopwatch running at Rockingham Speedway, the same track where he had crashed during his truck approval test just weeks earlier. He came back to that venue with the RCR team for a preparation session that lasted 10 full hours. 5 sets of tires. 1 full working day behind the wheel of a NASCAR race car at one of the most demanding short tracks in the country. And when the session ended, there was not a single scratch on the car. Mitchell posted about the experience, describing it as the greatest day of racing in his life, saying he learned more in those 10 hours than he could have imagined, and calling the RCR team incredible people to work with. 10 hours of track time is not a content session. It is not a marketing exercise. For a developing driver, every single lap in that environment teaches something that cannot be absorbed any other way. Each tire run builds a feel for how the car shifts under different load conditions, how the track surface changes across a long run, and how the driver's own decision-making has to adapt as the rubber degrades. By the time the 5th set of tires was done, Mitchell had knowledge of that car and that circuit that simply cannot be replicated without putting in the time. And it was during one of those long tire runs that the moment everyone has been talking about took place. 70 laps deep into a single tire run, the situation is straightforward: the rubber is essentially gone. Grip levels are at their lowest. The car becomes unpredictable in ways that even experienced drivers have to manage carefully. Coming through a corner at that point in the run, the rear of Mitchell's car broke loose. For a fraction of a second, the wall was a real possibility. Except it did not happen. Mitchell caught the car, held it, and kept going. No wall contact, no spin, no damage. A clip of the save was posted online and the response was immediate. One fan wrote, "I can't lie, that's a solid save." Another said, "Pretty good save all things considered. Much better than overcorrecting and going head-on into the wall." And the comment that carried the most weight came from a fan who pointed out, he was on his 70th lap on that set of tires. The grip was basically gone. That makes the save even more impressive. Place that moment next to what happened the last time he tested at Rockingham. He crashed. No ambiguity there. This time, under considerably more demanding conditions, worn-out tires, deep into a long run, in a car he had only recently begun working with, he saved it. That represents a measurable, documentable step forward. The fan reaction on Reddit, however, was anything but unified. It played out as a genuine conflict between two camps: those who still view Mitchell as a YouTuber who has not legitimately earned his position in professional motorsport, and those who are exhausted by the relentless negativity directed at someone who is clearly putting in real work. One fan's comment cut through the noise with a straightforward observation, that most people criticizing Mitchell would be doing the exact same thing if they had the platform and the resources to make it happen. That perspective resonated with a significant portion of the audience. Mitchell himself addressed the criticism directly during an appearance on the Dale Jr. Download podcast. His position was uncomplicated. He is the rookie. People can say whatever they want. But every time he shows up and the criticism fails to stop him, those voices have less and less left to say. As long as he is having fun, he said, he is going to keep coming back to NASCAR races. That framing maps directly onto his history in drag racing, where he was written off as the class clown from the start and spent years earning credibility through results rather than arguments. He is applying the same approach in NASCAR. Beyond the mental framework, he is also making tangible investments in his development. He sold his personal powerboat to fund the purchase of a super late model race car. His team is building it first as a pro late model, developing his skills step by step rather than skipping directly to the highest level. And because he owns the Freedom Factory, he has access to a racetrack whenever he needs it. The preparation is real, and the investment is financial, not just physical. April 4th at Rockingham Speedway is where everything converges. The North Carolina Education Lottery 250 airs at 2:30 p.m. on the CW, and it represents Cleetus McFarland's official debut in the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. Every name mentioned in this story, Mark Martin, Kenny Wallace, Kyle Petty, Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, will have their attention on that race. Every fan who has defended him and every fan who has written him off will be watching. His performance at Rockingham also carries direct consequences for what comes next, because it will determine whether he receives approval for his next scheduled start at Talladega. This is not a standalone appearance. It is the opening chapter of something larger, and the entire NASCAR world is paying attention whether they want to admit it or not. The facts are what they are. 2 top 10 ARCA finishes. A deal with one of NASCAR's most historic organizations. 10 hours of clean laps at one of the hardest tracks on the circuit. A save at lap 70 on a dead set of tires. None of that is a guarantee of success on April 4th. But none of it can be dismissed either. The story of Garrett Mitchell in NASCAR is still being written, and the next page gets turned at Rockingham. If you want to be part of the conversation when that race happens, the people who follow this sport every single week and care about what happens beyond just the Cup Series headlines, subscribe to NASCAR Nation Report and make sure you never miss a breakdown or a story that actually matters. Drop your prediction in the comments right now. Does Cleetus McFarland finish the race at Rockingham, and does he prove the legends wrong? Like this video if you think he deserves his shot. The debate is wide open, and we will have the full breakdown and reaction right here on the channel the moment that race is done.